Hey man. Oh hey man. What are you doing, dude? Breaking the fourth wall because it makes me quirky and likable. Okay, well, I just saw Deadpool 2. What are your thoughts on that? Deadpool, more like bedpool, because this thing made me want to go to sleep. Thank you so much. I'll be here all night. So I went to see Deadpool 2, right? New Marvel movie. It's got the goofy guy in it. And it was, I certainly didn't hate this movie. You know, I certainly had a fun time with it. I guess I'll talk about what I liked first. First and foremost, the action sequences are great. I think the action in this thing is super fun, super well paced, super enjoyable. The fighting was great, the camera work, everything felt very planned out, very choreographed. It didn't feel just like random things coming out of nowhere. That some of the fights were actually pretty clever. It's pretty clear right off the bat that they really wanted to make something intense and fun and nice and summer blockbustery. It was a fun movie. It was big. It was exciting. Yeah. Speaking of camera work, I also thought that the cinematography was surprisingly good. Not to say it was like groundbreaking. Not to say this is on some Roger Deakins level. I mean, the colors were pretty dull. Nothing was ridiculously special, but it felt like they actually put some thought into what they were filming. It felt like some of the shots were, dare I say, artsy. I thought a few of the jokes here and there were pretty funny. A friend of mine who I went with kept track of how many times I laughed, and apparently it was, I think, 7 times, which is, you know, pretty good. The score was interesting. I liked the post-credits scene. I liked Peter, and that's about it. Now, while we're on the topic of jokes, I felt like this movie was super inconsistent on when it told its jokes and the quality of said jokes. For the first maybe 30 minutes of this thing, I didn't laugh once. It wasn't even because I didn't get the jokes or I didn't think they were funny. It was because there literally weren't that many jokes to laugh at. When a movie like Deadpool makes itself out to be this super goofy, funny, quirky movie, and the jokes just aren't there for like the first 30 minutes, I can't help but be bored. I mean, the first sequence of this thing is pretty goofy. They make it out to be this like funny little quirk fest, and then nothing happens. If you're gonna make yourself out to be like that, you gotta be consistent with it. You can't expect the viewer to look at any of this dramatic stuff right off the bat and have any sort of feelings towards it. This is a common flaw for this movie, setting things up and not delivering. There were multiple times where I was like, oh, this character is important. They're probably going to come back later. We're probably going to be following this character for a while. And nope, they just kind of die. So many plot points and characters and jokes are built up to be these potentially great aspects of the film, but they all just eventually lead to nothing. This film is also just a mess. I mean, the scenes are just thrown all over the place. It didn't feel like the writers really sat down and decided like, oh, this scene will be here, this scene will be here, we'll take this one out, we'll put this one in. It didn't feel like any of that was going down. It just felt like they were like, oh, the scene will have this, because we have to have that, and then we move on to the next thing, and etc. And I know for a movie like this that's just quirky and goofy and a fun time, that's not the most important part. It's not like we're going into this thing like, oh, I bet Deadpool's gonna have great structure. But seriously, if when it's this messy, I can't help but pay attention to it, and I can't help but get lost and not care about anything. On top of that, oh, the ending, Jesus Christ. This movie does not know how to end. It sucks because the final battle was actually pretty great. They built it up into this big thing, and I was like, oh, this is actually a pretty exciting way to end this movie. But then they're like, nope, we got like 20 minutes more of just nothing. I mean, seriously, nothing significant is introduced or said in the last 20 minutes of this movie. It's not funny, it's not interesting, it's just what? I mean, seriously, I was waiting for Deadpool to actually acknowledge it. You know, he acknowledges some of the writer's flaws earlier in the movie, for some reason, but in this last part he doesn't say anything, and I'm like, this is absurd. I don't know, it was a mess, really. It's kind of mind-blowing that this movie was more of a mess than Infinity War. I mean, how? Again, don't want to make it seem like I hated this thing by any means. I mean, seriously, the fun parts were a lot of fun. For the most part, it was actually pretty enjoyable. But please, if you're gonna make a fun movie, you gotta stay consistent with it. Again, despite its stupid flaws, I had a pretty enjoyable time with this movie. It's a good summer blockbuster that a lot of people enjoy, including the guy in front of me who had clearly never seen an R-rated movie prior to this. And that's about it. That's really all I have to say. I guess it's better than the first, but the first was just a lot simpler than this mess. I'm going to give Deadpool a 3 out of 5. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have nothing else to say, and I'll see you guys in the next one.